Hi everyone. So today's agenda is creating a Lightning data table in LWC. Now, it is not just a simple LWC Lightning data table. We are going to achieve the following functionalities in it. First of all, we are going to display some columns like name, owner, phone, website, annual revenue of the accounts. Now, in the data table that we have, we will be having a website column also, like you see here. So when I click on that website, it should open that website in a new tab. Second requirement is that each and every account that we have, I should be able to go to that account's detail page by clicking on the view on that particular account. Third is that I should be able to sort the rows by name and owner name, the name of the account and owner name. Fourth is I should be able to filter my accounts by a specific search string that I'll be giving. And fifth and the final one is that it should support the inline editing of all the columns in the table except the owner name, because owner is from some other object, right? It's not a part of the account object. So let's quickly begin. I'll just show you the output on what are we looking at. So this is the kind of the data table. This is the final output that we want. Here is a text field with the help of which we'll be able to filter. So let's say I'm saying filter by accounts having name as like Namrata. So all the accounts consisting of this keyword Namrata are shown here. That's the first thing. Next is I should be able to do inline editing. Now, let's say this account does not have any phone number. So let me say I am entering a phone number. And then when I do save, account updated, and you see the number also got updated. The third thing is when I click on the website, it should open in a new tab. So let me click on this website. You see, this website opened and our original tab is still open. So it got opened in a new tab. Okay, that is one. And you should be able to sort by name and owner name, right? So this is the name. You see, we are able to sort it. Even the owner name, we are able to sort it. Okay, so that is about it. Filtering, sorting, opening website, inline editing, and yeah, view. So let's say I want to view this account. So I'll click here, sample account for entitlement, right? Now let me click on show details. So now the detail page of this particular account got opened in the new tab. Okay. So that is what we are going to achieve. So let's quickly begin. So I've created a Lightning Web component called Datatable 1, in which the meta file I've kept ready. I've added Lightning tab, although I'm not going to use this, but I don't know why I keep adding this all the time. But we are going to use this in the Lightning tab. So that is why in the target, we need to include the Lightning _ tab. Now let us create a simple data table first. So this is our basic data table. Okay. Now in this, you see there are three things. First is key field, which is ID. That is how it will uniquely identify each and every record. Then we have all the records which would be stored in data. And then we have all the columns that we need to show in this data table. So let's quickly add the columns and let's add the data. So first of all, what we are going to do is let's create columns. And for columns, we need to, sorry, 1 minute. Okay. So for columns, we first need to import the track decorator. So let's import that. Now, what are we going to do with that is we are going to first create columns. Okay. So here we go. I've created columns here. Columns is the same name which I have used over here. Columns. Okay. Now, what all fields we are going to take? Name, owner, phone, website, annual revenue. For now, you could ignore this. And also ignore all this sortable, editable, and everything. All you need to see for now is these three fields. First of all, I've taken name. Okay. The API name of that name field is name. What is the type of that field? Text. Similarly, owner. So for now, I'll say owner ID, and I would say the type is text. Phone, the field API name is phone and the type is phone. Website, API name is website, type is URL. And annual revenue, API name is annual revenue, type is currency, and ignore all these rest of the part. Okay. So now we have our columns ready. Now the next thing is we want the data in it. So for getting the data, I'm going to decorate with wire. Like I'm going to get the data with the help of wire. So here I've imported the wire. Okay. Now the next thing is from which Apex class am I going to get my data? So I am going to get the data from here. So by the way, those who don't know all these things, basic things, you can go and refer to my LWC tutorial, which I've uploaded in my channel. You'll find the playlist for LWC. So you can go and learn all these things. So what I'm doing here is from this Apex classes, this method, I am getting all the account records. Now let me quickly open this and let me show you what I've done in that class. Okay. So what I'm doing is, because I told you guys, right, we will be having a filter value also. And on the basis of that filter value, we'll be able to filter the records in Datatable. So for that, I'll need to send a variable or a parameter in the Apex. And I'm just calling it key, and I'm appending and prepending it with percentage sign. And then further in my query, I'm saying select ID, owner.name, phone, website, annual revenue, etc. from account where name, like, and this key, the filter value that we'll be sending. Okay. So then it would get me all the accounts accordingly. Okay. So I have imported that method over here. And now let's do one thing. Let's get all the records using the wire. Okay. So let me make that property in which I'm going to get all the records and name it as records and error. Okay. Now, what I'm going to do is, for now, you could ignore this. Let me remove it so that you are not confused. Okay. So here what I've done is I have created a variable called search key. Now, in this search key, we are going to get some value from that box that I showed you, right? This one, this one. When I type something, it is going to filter the accounts according to that. We'll come to that later on, but for now, what we'll do is we'll just create that variable and assign it blank value. Okay. So here I go. I'll add this variable and say that the value is blank. Now, this method that I've imported, I'm going to say get details. In the filter val, the name of the parameter in the Apex class was filter val. So I would say in that Apex parameter, I'm going to pass this attribute that I have in my LWC and give some name to this method and get result out of it. Now this one, what I have done is, for now you could ignore that, but I am going to declare this variable called refresh table. I'll show you later on why have I used it. Okay. In that, I'll put result. Now, if there is some data, I'm going to get that data and put it in records. If not, then I'm going to put the value in the error. Okay. So that is about it. Now we have our records and we have our columns. And records is something that I've used in the data over here. Okay. So now let me deploy. Okay, it is successfully deployed. Now I'll go in the tab. And instead of the data table that I have created, I'll just add this new LWC component that we have created called Datatable 1. Okay, I don't think we can change over here. Let me create a new tab. Datatable 1. I would name it also that way. Okay, so here you see, now in this Datatable 1 tab that we have created a basic data table. Now the next thing is, here you see we have the owner ID, right? Now I don't want the owner ID, I want the owner name. So how do I do it? So what do we do for that is, first of all, the column that we have here, I've written owner ID, right? The API name. But rather I want owner.name. Now I cannot write owner.name over here. So let me also tell you that this same example that I'm using here for LWC, I've done it for Aura also, and I've given the same explanation there. So here what we are going to do is, instead of writing owner.name, we'll create a new field in the data table called owner name. Now the concept is the same in both Aura and LWC, but how to populate that owner.name is, the syntax is a little different in Aura and LWC. So let us see how do we do it in LWC now. And in case if you want to see it how I did it in Aura, please go and refer to that Lightning Datatable video that I have created for Aura. So here I would say owner name. I would name it as owner name. Now, next thing what I'm going to do is, because there is no such field called owner name in our Apex class, right? Here we are returning owner.name. So then how do we fill this field? So for that, there is a workaround how you can do it. What you could do is, here where we are getting the data, right? Result.data, and we are putting it in this dot records. There itself, we will map the fields along with the field in the Apex, along with the field in our LWC data table. So how to do that is, this is the syntax of doing it. What I said is, this dot records equals to result dot data, same like earlier. But here you need to add one more thing called dot map. And then using arrow function, you need to say value, fat arrow. Then in curly braces, you need to return the mapping. Now in that, you would say that I just want to map the owner name. But what will happen, if we don't map the other fields, no, only owner name from Apex would get mapped to the owner name field of data table. Because we are using this method, it is compulsory that we add all the fields from Apex and map it to all the fields of the data table. So here I am ID field of data table. I'm mapping it with the value that I'm getting from Apex dot ID field. So here, this result that I'll be getting, right, account list dot ID, I am mapping that ID to the ID of data table. Name to the name of the data table. Owner names data table's owner name is mapped to the value dot owner dot name, and so on. So let me just save it. Okay, and let's deploy. Okay, done. So let me quickly refresh this. You see, now we have the owner name. So this was our second requirement. Now the next thing that we need to do is we need to have row action, right? So here I need to have a arrow or something like that. And when I click on that arrow, it should open the record detail page. But there is one more thing along with it that I want to open it in a new tab. It should not open here itself, right? So now for that, we are going to use navigation, because we want to navigate to the standard record page or standard view page of the account. Now for that also I've created a LWC tutorial in which you will see how to navigate from a Lightning web component to a standard record page. So in case you have any more doubts or you want to learn it in detail, then go there. But here also I'm going to show the gist of how I've done it. So let's quickly begin. Now for that, what we need to do is, first of all, we need to add a column, okay? One extra column. Now, what would that extra column do is, we are going to say, wait 1 minute. Okay, let me go to the web component and show you. Okay. So here, first of all, I'm creating a constant variable, not variable, called actions, and the label of that action is show detail and the name is show underscore details. Okay. Now, if you want to add the view action, right, in the data table, you need to add one more column in your columns that you have made, which is here. Okay, so I would say, and I would add type equal to action. So I'm saying that in this column, we are giving some action over here. And in the attribute, I'm going to say row action, action, which is the constant that I've declared over here. Okay, let me save this. Now, just adding that is not enough, right? Like we need to also tell that, what should happen when we click on that button. So there is a property called row action in Lightning Datatable. So on row action, that means on clicking on that action, I need to call this particular method. So let us create that method and let's see what we are doing in that method. So here I go and this is the method handle row action. Now in this, we are going to navigate. So the prerequisites for navigating to somewhere is you need to import the navigation mixin. So let us import that. So here we have imported navigation mixin from Lightning Navigation. The other thing is, normally how we write this is extends Lightning element. But when you are using the navigation mixin, it should go something like this. Okay, fine. Now, the next thing is I'll show you what I've written in that code. Now, what we are doing is, first of all, when on row action happens, we are calling this method called handle row action. Now, in this, what we are doing is we are saying that get the event.detail.current row, and from that row, get the ID from that particular row. So whichever row that we are clicking on, its ID will get captured in the selected record ID attribute. So I need to create that selected record ID attribute. So let me create it. Here we go. We have created the selected record ID attribute. Okay. Now we have the selected record ID. I don't think we are going to use it, but anyhow, we just created it. Okay. Now we are going to say navigation mixin dot generate URL. The usual syntax is not like that. The usual syntax is I would just say navigation mixin, close the square bracket, open this, and then it would be done. Okay. But here, why have we done like this is because we want to open the record page in the new tab. So that is why I'm saying dot generate URL, and then this where it is ending, right? I'm saying dot then URL and then open it in a new window. Okay, new tab. So that is why I've written it like this. Now let's understand what is within this. So type is, where do I want to navigate? I want to navigate to a standard record page. So I would say type is standard record page. What are the attributes? So in attributes, we need to give the current records ID. So whichever record I've clicked on, that record's ID gets stored in this record ID. What is the API name? We are going to say account, and what action do we need to perform? We just need to go to the view detail page of that particular account record. So that is it. So just let's save it. And let's deploy this. Okay, it's deployed. Okay, now you see there is one extra column that got added. So let's say I want to view the account gene point. Okay, so I click here, click on show details, and now you see it has opened in a new tab. So the name is gene point. So we are on the standard record view page of that particular account. So the next action was the next thing was row action, and it would be view. Now the next thing that we need to do is we should be able to click on the website and it should open in a new tab. Now what happens is when you use URL in the type of the 1 minute, sorry. Yep. So in this website, we had used the type as URL. So whenever you do that, by default, when you click on the website, right, it will always open in a new tab. So let's try. Let's say I have clicked on this website. You see that website has got opened in a new tab. So we don't have to do anything for that. Now the next thing is sorting. Okay, so I want to be able to sort by name and owner name. So how do I do it? So for that, first of all, whichever columns that I need the sorting to be performed on, I would say sortable as true for that. So I go to the columns that I've created, and in that I would just add one more attribute called sortable equal to true. So I've added that for name, I've added that for owner name, and I've added that for annual revenue. Now this is not it. We need to do something more. Okay. There are certain attributes that you need to place in your data table. Okay. So these are the 4 things that I've added. Default sort direction. Okay. Which means what is the default sort direction when we first load the data table? Sorted direction. It means what is the current direction that the table is sorted by? Sorted by what is the column name of, like, we have sorted by which column? What is the name of that, column? And what should happen when we click on that sorting arrow? So we will call a method. So first of all, there are these attributes that we need to create in our LWC. So let us do that. So you see there are 3 attributes: default sort direction, sorted by. Okay. So I've added those attributes. Now default sort direction, I'm going to keep it ascending. Sort direction also, I'm putting it ascending because the current one would be ascending, and then sorted by, I'm not putting anything for now. Let's save this. And finally, then we need to say that when we click on that arrow, what should happen? So first, let me deploy this much. Okay, it's deployed. Let's refresh. Now, because we have added sortable equals to true for this name, owner name, and annual revenue, you'll see an arrow that appears. But when I click on website and phone, that does not appear because we have not added sortable true. Now, if I click over here, nothing happens. Why? Because the method that is there, no handle sort, I have not yet implemented that. So let's quickly implement that method. First of all, let's okay. So the first thing that I'm going to do is I'm going to say JSON.parse, and within that I'm going to say JSON.stringify this dot records. Now what is there in the records? All the records that we brought from Apex, right? Using the wire method, we have put that in this dot records. And this dot records is the same thing that we have used over here in the data. So I'm getting all the data in short that I've received from Apex and storing it over here. Now this dot sorted by is, it is storing the name of the column, right? So when we do a event dot detail dot field name, right, we will get the current field name by which it is sorted. And when we do event dot detail dot sort direction, we will get the current direction by which it is sorted. And for that, we created 2 variables above, like you see here, and we have added the values in them. Let me save this. Now, the next thing that we need to do is we need to finally sort it. Now, how are we going to do that? So, this is the code, sorting by name. Now, in this, what I've done is this dot sort by, which we got over here, right? So I'm going to say if this dot sort by is name, okay, then what I'm going to do is I would create a let variable called sort by name. In that data one that we have, put all the records that we got into our let variable called data one. I'm going to say data one dot sort, and I would say I would use the arrow function here. These are the 2 parameters, A and B. Now, within which I am checking the sort direction. So in this dot sort direction, I have the current direction by which it is sorted. Now, this current direction would either be ascending or it will be descending, and it would we would get that. We don't need to do anything for that. We would get that ascending or descending over here. So if it is ascending, what I'm saying is, if A dot name is less than B dot name, then it is correct. Now it is already ascending, right? The first one is lesser than the second one. So then I don't need to do anything. But if it's otherwise, like if A is greater than B, then I need to swap. So return one means I'm swapping. Same way, if it is descending, then come inside. Now, if A is greater than B, then I'm not doing anything. But if A is less than B, and if, I need to put it in descending order, then I need to swap. Okay. So I got this value inside this let variable that we have created called sort by name. At the end, what I'm going to do is, after this sorting is done, I'm going to assign that variable back to this dot records. That is it. Okay. So let's do the same thing for owner name as well as annual revenue. Okay, so it is done now. Let me quickly deploy. Okay, it is deployed. Let's go and refresh. Okay, now you see we are able to sort on the basis of name. Let's sort on the basis of the owner name also. Okay, so this was our next requirement. Now, the next thing that we are going to do is we are going to filter by a search text. So here we'll have an input field, and on the basis of that input field, we'll filter all the account records. So let's quickly create a input field. Okay. Enter the account name, type is text, and on change, I'm calling this method. So what I'm doing is, search accounts, and you remember we had already created an attribute called search key, and we were passing it as blank because here we need to pass some value. So initially we were passing it as blank, but now what we are going to do is, on change of the value on that text box that we have, I'm going to say on change, just get the current value and pass it to this dot search key. Now, because we have used this dollar search key, right? Every time that you will enter that, this method would get called and we would get the data back. So yeah. And we have already taken care that if they have any filter value, we are only going to get those accounts whose name is like this particular filter value. So let me just deploy this thing. Okay, it is deployed. Okay, now let me filter. So you see now all the accounts are filtered. So that requirement is also fulfilled. Now the next thing is inline editing. Okay. So how to do the inline editing? Now for that, we need two things in our data table. So let me go here. The first thing is draft values. Okay. And the second thing is on save. Now, those of you who might have seen my video, the same Lightning Datatable video in Aura, you might be knowing what we did with the draft values. Why do we need it? But for those who don't, draft values is like, okay, let me show it and then explain it actually. So one more thing that we need to do is whichever fields we want to be able, like we should be able to do inline editing on, we need to add editable as true for all those columns. So except owner, I've added editable as true for all the other columns. Okay. So let me just save it. And 1 minute. Okay. What I'm doing here is when we enable the inline editing, right, what will happen is whenever you try to edit some record at the bottom, you will see that a save and cancel button will start appearing. So when you click on that save, what should happen? That is handled by using on save. So when you click on that save button, this handle save method should get called. So what I'm trying to do is I'm trying to create that method called handle save. So let me say handle save. Okay. And what else I'm going to do is console.log json.stringify. Now, oh, I told you one more thing I've added, right? Draft values. Now, what is this draft value? Something that I'm going to show you over here. Stringify dot event dot detail dot draft values. Now, here also I've named it as draft values. Okay, so that's why I've used. But this is the standard actually. This is how you write it and you will get the draft values. Okay. We would also do one thing. We would declare also that draft values because I've used that in the data table, right? So let me declare it. Okay, I've declared the draft values. Now let us deploy this data table. Okay. Okay, let's do the inline editing. Now you see the moment I click outside, the save button appears, right? This is because of the inline editing feature. If I click on save, now you see in the console log, I printed the draft values. So what is the draft value is? All the records in which I made changes, it will store the name of that field along with the ID attribute. Because why is it giving ID? Because that is how we'll be able to identify, right? That this record is something that we need to edit. Now, this also I'll add suppose and I'll click on save. So now you see both the records are stored in the draft value. So this is nothing but the draft values. Draft is basically all the records that we are editing that is getting stored in our draft values. Now, next thing. So now upon clicking on save, we need to save that value. So what we are going to do for that is, first of all, we'll convert that data table draft values into record object. Okay. And how are we going to do that is, let me go to that method. This is how we are going to do that. Okay. We are going to store those records into a constant called records. And this is the syntax: event.detail.draft values dot slice dot map, and then arrow function draft value, in which I'm saying const fields equals to object dot assign circular bracket within which we have a curly braces comma draft value. And then we have field, and all I've done is just displayed the fields using console.log. Now this record, these records that we have got, right, that we need to update it. Now, there are two ways to do it. First of all, I call a apex, right? And in that apex, I pass the list of the records, and in apex, I do a DML. But let's say I don't want to do the DML, then the other option is I could use UI record API. So in order to do the UI record API, we need to import that first. So let us import update record from UI record API. So now what we have done is we have added update record from Lightning UI record API. This is with which the help of which we are going to update our record. We don't need to do a DML and call the apex and all that. After doing that, then what I did is in the same method called handle save, I've added a try block. In this try block, what I'm doing is I'm creating a constant called record update promises. In that, I'm trying to map all the records that I have, right? That I have stored in the records. I'm going to map all the record one by one and update all the records. Okay. And yeah, this is just something that I've displayed just for you all to see it, how it looks like. Then we have the await, and then we have promise.all, and then this constant that we have created over here. Now, because we are using await over here, right, we need to make this method as async. So I would say when I do async, you see this error goes away. And we also need to write catch because we have written try. Okay, catch, and we have error. Now, let's suppose if this successfully gets saved, what I want to do is I want to show a toast event saying that account records are updated. Now for that also we have to import the toast event, right? So I would say import show toast event from Lightning platform show toast event. So now because I've imported the show toast, what I'll do is in the try itself, if it is done successfully, I am going to dispatch a event which would say accounts updated, and it would be a success type of a event. So I would say come here and add this dispatch event. Okay. And if there is any error, then I want to dispatch an event showing the error. So I've added the dispatch event showing error. Now let's deploy this. And let's go here and refresh. Okay, now let's try to edit. Okay. And the moment I click on this, and I click on save, first of all, the fields, the record that we were making, you would be able to see over here. And in the record update promises, it's just showing that there are 2 records. Now we saw that toast event saying successfully updated, right? Let me again click on save. You see this toast message appear. But then nothing else is happening. This save and cancel is still there. It's not disappearing. Plus, like I'm not able to find out if the record is saved or not. So let me just refresh this. Yeah. So you see the records are updated. But how would I know if it got updated or not? What should ideally happen is that edit mode should go away, that save and cancel should go away, and it should show this normal page once I save. So for that, what we need to do is, what we could do is, we got all the values and we stored it in records. After that, we don't need the draft values, right? So draft values condition, we should put it like before. So what I would say is this dot draft values equals to this. So I'm just storing the initial state of the draft values before it was saved. How it was blank. So that is why, because it was blank, that is why I was not able to see the save and cancel. And plus it was just a normal view page like this. So in order to go back to that state, we need to say this dot draft values equal to this. And the draft values is nothing but I've declared it over here, and also in the draft hyphen values, I'd use that attribute, right? So we have saved this, and now let's deploy. And let's refresh. Okay. Okay. So here I'm saving 2 records. Let me save it. You see, now it went back to its original state, but I could still see that the record is not updated, right? So let me refresh and see if the record got updated. So now I see that the update is there. But this is wrong, no? Like, why should I be, going and making the refresh manually? It should have happen automatically. So now for that, what we can do is we could use the refresh apex. Now, refresh apex would automatically refresh this for us. And how to use that is we need to import refresh apex as well. So let me just import the refresh apex. And if you remember, I had created a variable called refresh table in the beginning, right? And I told you I'll explain you later why we have used it. First of all, what we did is when we were getting all the records using wire method, no, we had written this dot refresh table equal to result. So whatever result that we got, I have stored it in this dot refresh table. Now, the next thing that I'm going to do is if the record has got updated successfully, then I need to do refresh of all the data in the Lightning data table. So remember the name is refresh table. So what I'm going to do here is after dispatching this event, right, over here, I would say the refresh apex that I've imported over here, no, this. I'm going to use that and I'm going to give the name of the, yeah, this one. Refresh table, the one that we have, put all our data that has come into data table, we have put over here. So I'm saying this dot refresh table, please refresh that. Okay. And let's deploy. Okay. And let's save it. And you see, it got refreshed also. So I think this was about it. The last thing is, now let's say I have filtered the records and then I edit it. It should still retain the filtering when it saves. So it retains the filtering also and inline editing also happens. So we have written our code in such a way that this is happening. So I think all our agenda is covered. So yeah, that is about it. If this video helped, please like, share, and subscribe. Please like as much as possible so that this video reaches to more and more people. Thank you so much.